Hey guys, we are going to work through a couple examples solving systems of linear equations by using substitution. Just as the name suggests, we are going to be substituting values in for the variables in order to solve the system and find an x and y coordinate that form an ordered pair, which ultimately end up being the solution to the system. The significance of that point is that that x and y coordinate will be the one that basically keeps both equations true. Okay, so let's just go ahead and start working on one. This one is really nicely set up. We've already got one where the variable has been solved for from the get-go, so we only really have to work with one equation. We've got y equals -2, and then 4x minus 3y equals 18. So this equation is in standard form. What you're going to do, we already have y. So what's nice about this is that we've basically got half of our solution already. So you can go ahead and plug that -2 in right there for our solution point. Next, we're going to rewrite our second equation, and instead of y, you want to plug in this value. And then once you've got this, basically just go ahead and continue solving. And we've only got one variable, so you're hoping for x equals a number. And let's continue to work towards that. Clean this up a bit. So -3 times -2 would be +6. And we've got equals 18, which means 4x equals, after we subtract 6 from both sides, 4x equals 12. I'm not writing all my steps, although I'll verbalize them. I have limited space here. And then we would end up with x equals 3. So our solution point would be 3, -2. All right, let's look at a different one. Let's look at number 6 here. We've got y equals 5x minus 7, and then -3x minus 2y equals -12. So this one's not quite as easy as the other one, but still, I mean, we've already got one equation that's solved for a variable. We've got y equals, and instead of it, y equaling a number, we've just got that it equals an expression. So what we're going to do is plug this expression, the 5x minus 7, we're going to plug that in for y right here when we rewrite our second equation. So -3x minus 2 times, instead of 2 times y, we're going to use the y equivalent, which is 5x minus 7. And that equals -12. So -3x, just clean this up. Minus 10x, -2 times -7, because we have to distribute this -2 here. Plus 14 equals -12. And continue combining like terms. -13x. And after we subtracted 14 from both sides, we would get -26 divided by -13. And you have x equals 2. So once we have x equals 2, we're going to use that value and go plug it back into one of our original equations. This one seems a little less complicated than this one, so let's just go ahead and stick with our trusty slope-intercept form. So y equals 5 times x, which we have found that is 2, minus 7, so 10 minus 7 equals 3. So our solution point will be 2, 3. One more. This one's a little more, it's not as nicely set up for you in the beginning. We don't have either of these solved for y. However, just simple rearranging will take care of that. So I'm going to step over here and I'm going to rearrange my first one because I got a positive y. So I'm going to work with that one because I can get that in slope-intercept form very easily without having to divide by a negative and all that. So all you would have to do is move the -4x over to the right to get that in slope-intercept form. So that's pretty simple. And then we've got this as our second equation. So if y equals 4x plus 6, same process as we used over here. Instead of saying minus y, we're going to subtract 4x plus 6. Now be careful with this because the way that you just wrote it, you know, it's kind of like saying a negative 1 times y there. So that negative 1 is still here, and we're going to have to distribute that negative 1 to the parentheses. So we have, there should be an x there, negative 5x minus 4x minus 6 equals 21. And then continue cleaning up. Negative 9x minus 6 equals 21. So negative 9x equals 27 when we add 6 to both sides. So x is equal to a negative 3. And then once you know that x is equal to negative 3, again, go back and plug it into either one of your equations and solve for the remaining variable. So if you plug that into this equation, I'm going to go ahead and use the slope-intercept form since we know that these are equivalent. I'll do that over here. Y equals, instead of 4 times x, I'm going to say 4 times the x equivalent, which is negative 3, plus 6. So that means y equals negative 12 plus 6, which is negative 6. So your solution point, negative 3 and negative 6.